Armando Baker here.
It's Luke May.
This is Tyler Hansbrough.
University of North Carolina.
Here's North Carolina.
I just want to shout out my boy JBear_YT.
JBear_YT.
It's Carolina family, baby.
Go Heels.
Go Heels.
What's up, boys? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be doing a reaction slash very early prediction for UNC's 2023 football schedule. It was just released this Monday. It's now Wednesday as of when you're seeing this, and Carolina's schedule, in my opinion, is the toughest in the ACC. So we will see how they do, but if you want to become a top tier program like Mac Brown says he wants to be, and talking about how he didn't come back to win 9 games. You gotta have schedules like this to build your program, to get the better recruits, to get the better players, and develop into that type of program. So we will see how it is. I think this year's team does have a ton of potential, in my opinion. It really does. You got one of, if not the best quarterback in college basketball on your sideline, with an offense that was started by Phil Longo, now going to be expanded to Chip Lindsey. That should be a very good offense. Offensive line is the only thing you're really concerned about there in that room, in my opinion. Defense, with the transfers that we lost and brought in, it's more of an addition by subtraction. We brought in some veteran pieces. I keep saying this like every year, but the defense should be better. And if it is, the Tar Heels got a shot to do some pretty incredible things next year in what will likely be Drake May's final year as a Tar Heel at the college level. But let's get into this schedule right here. First game here on Twitter, by the way. If you haven't followed me at JBear_YT on Twitter, good follow if I don't say so myself. But here we are starting September 2nd, 2023. A pretty early season, a start to the football season, as the Carolina Tar Heels will be facing off against South Carolina in Bank of America Stadium, which will be for the third time in a 5-year period, by the way. We've played South Carolina in Bank of America. And this game is a tough one. Spencer Rattler had a really good end of the season, but I still kind of think that's more of an outlier. Shane Beamer is seriously doing a good job in South Carolina. So it'll be this will be a really good game. This is going to be one of the best games to start opening weekend. A potential top 25 matchup between these teams. I think they're both top 25 teams in my opinion. So my early reaction here, I'll save it to the end, honestly. I'll come back to the predictions. So we'll just start out by talking about each and every game here, and then I'll kind of give my record predictions, because there is some variability here with how tough the schedule is. Next game here is going to be home against Appalachian State the following week. Beat them on the road last year in what overall was a down year for App State. But I think Drake May coming back with a very explosive offense, including some transfer guys, and having a game under their belt, I think they will be able to actually handle this game easier than you may think. So I do think this ends up being a W in a first home game this season. Here, Minnesota out of the Big Ten. This is a very, honestly, kind of exciting thing, as you don't get to play teams like this very often. I'm glad they scheduled a home and home. Next year we'll be playing at Minnesota. That'll be a pretty cool atmosphere. This will be a cool atmosphere as well. Minnesota, PJ Fleck, his team's kind of been in limbo a little bit the past couple of years. I don't know what to expect. I know Carolina will have the more talented team. I don't know how the Big Ten, brand of football and the brand of football that Minnesota plays will affect the Tar Heels. Right now, since it's at home, I would lean toward that being a W, but we could obviously easily lose that game. But I'll go with a W there to start here out in the season. Oh goodness, that went by fast. Anyways, first true away game is at Pitt, September 23rd. I mean, finally being not on a Thursday night or whatever. At Pitt, that'll be a tough game. New quarterback Phil Jurkovec will be coming in. Had a little bit of a tough time early with Pitt this past year, but before taking off late in the fourth quarter. We're the more talented team than Pitt this year. They're losing some NFL guys on the defense. Can they get those productions back from who they're going to be bringing in through the transfer portal and elsewhere to replace those guys on the D-line, especially for Pitt? I don't necessarily think so. I think Carolina wins this game on the road and progresses into the season. Next game is going to be against Syracuse. There is a bye week in between the Syracuse game and the Pitt game. So coming off the bye, it'll be Syracuse at home, and I think this will be a win here. Garrett Schrader is a good quarterback. Syracuse had a good season, better than you would think, but they really, really tapered off near the end. And I think Carolina and Drake May will be able to power them through and get a victory here. So far, I haven't predicted a loss. We'll get back to that South Carolina game later. But I haven't predicted a loss yet. Home against Miami, we have absolutely dominated Miami yet. Yes, their program is turning in the right direction under Mario Cristobal, but I think it's too early for anyone to truly pick a Miami win here. Obviously, it's possible Carolina could very easily lose this game, but the way that Miami has been owned by Carolina recently, the overall talent advantage right now, at least experienced talent for Carolina, and the Drake May factor, I think Carolina does get the W here. So far, again, haven't predicted a loss. So this is a really good Carolina team. I love the transfer portal guys that we've picked up. Again, here at home at Virginia, I think that's a win. It's going to be hard for that not to be. Who knows who's playing quarterback for Virginia coming in? Because Brennan Armstrong, of course, is transferring to NC State. So I expect that Virginia team to look pretty lost and maybe be one of, if not the worst team in the ACC next year. And that's why I think that Carolina will be able to get this dub fairly handily. And so far, no loss. Again, goodness gracious. This is an interesting one because at Georgia Tech, this has been a team that has owned us recently, which just, it is fairly pathetic to be honest with you. But Carolina truly is the much better team. Bringing in Nate McCollum from Georgia Tech should help a little bit. Who knows who's going to be playing quarterback as Jeff Sims leave. That whole program is kind of in a what in the world is going on type place. I do think Carolina is going to win this game, but again, the way that Georgia Tech has owned us the past couple of years, obviously they could win this one. But I do think Carolina will get it done. So far, making that, what was that? So that's 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0 so far. And then Campbell, that's 8-0 so far of the games I've predicted. I will get back to that South Carolina game again later. Campbell, it's the one FCS team on the schedule. This is like the only cupcake, which is one of the reasons why this is considered the hardest, considered by many at least, to be the hardest schedule in the ACC. So Campbell there at home on November 4th. Then we get into our final stretch of the season, which is going to be the toughest stretch for the Tar Heels more than likely, as Mike Elko and Duke are looking like a legit squad this year, man. They return a ton of production, bring in some transfer portal guys. Mike Elko looks like he's the future of this program before he inevitably gets hired elsewhere. Duke was like legitimately a good football team last year. And I know that hurts the ears of Carolina fans to hear, but it was true. I do still think Carolina is the better team. I think they have the quarterback advantage. But as far as coaching goes, there's a legit concern as far as Duke out-coaching Carolina in this matchup. But Carolina is home. They're playing for the victory bell. There's a lot on the line here at this point in the season for Carolina. So I think they will be getting this W, although that could be a tough matchup. Then next week at Memorial Stadium at Clemson. This is one right now I just can't predict as a W. It's the first one of the season of that type. Clemson looks to be a very good team this year. I don't think they'll personally be a college football playoff contender type, Cade Klubnik coming in as the starter, I think he'll be fine. But, outside of the Carolina game last year where he was playing the worst defense in the ACC debatably, he didn't look great. And obviously he's a highly touted 5-star recruit. We expect to see progression there. But we will see how things develop. If Cade Klubnik, is off his game and this Carolina defense truly does show improvement, they can win this game there. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. There's not a game on this schedule that Carolina cannot win. So I do think that Clemson gets the W here right now, but obviously Carolina can win that one. So I'll do that as a loss. And the final game of the regular season will be at NC State, ending that 3-game really, really tough stretch. I think it'd be fantastic, if Carolina can win 2 of those games, truthfully. NC State here on the road, coming in with Brennan Armstrong as their new quarterback, losing a lot of offensive linemen and wide receivers, which could be an area of concern for them. They are getting that quarterback that they desperately needed, but if they can't replace those offensive linemen and weaponry, and the running back room didn't look too good last year, if they can't produce anything around Brennan Armstrong, it could look a lot like Virginia last year as far as the offense goes. And on defense, they're losing quite a few guys also. I actually think this NC State team is a little bit overrated going into it. Obviously we don't know the ACC preseason polls and all that. But I don't think this is going to be a top 3 or 4 team in the ACC. Maybe a top 5 team, maybe. But we will see how it turns out for NC State. I don't think they just have the pieces, honestly, to be a great team this year. With that said, though, they can obviously win this game, a rivalry game, a different type matchup. But I think Drake May, being his final time playing against NC State, and after what happened last year, them trying to plant the field, the NC State players trying to plant the flag on a turf field, I think Carolina plants the flag in Raleigh next year on a field that actually can be planted on a field that actually can have flags planted in it. I think Carolina does get this W here, making a 1-loss season very plausible. Seriously, going back to the South Carolina game, I think there could be some growing pains for the Tar Heels. Very likely could be a loss. This is truly a toss-up for me, in every sense of the word. So we'll go with it. So right now, this 12-game schedule, I'm thinking around 11-1. 12-0 is possible. Let's not throw that possibility out the window. It is very, very possible that Carolina could win every single game on their schedule this year. But it's also possible they could have 3 losses. I think 9-3 is the floor for this team, barring any insanely horrible injury news or something like that. I think 9-3 is the floor, and I think 12-0 is the ceiling. But I think more realistically for both of those scenarios, 10-2 or 11-1 is what we're looking at for UNC. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about Carolina's 2023 schedule in the comments down below. Please like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do all that YouTube stuff. Follow me on Twitter if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one.